This Talk of the Town is proudly brought to you by Coolibah Cabins, portable houses for living.
Welcome back to MilduraWeekly.com.au. This is Talk of the Town, and my guest in the studio today is Victorian Deputy Leader of the National Party and Shadow Minister for Water, Steph Ryan. Steph, thanks for popping in.
Oh, pleasure, Vinny. Lovely to be here.
So, as I said, we're in Mildura and Robinvale, I believe, over the last day or two. Can you just tell us a little bit about your visit and the reason for the trip?
Yeah, well, I wanted warm weather, of course, so I had to come to Mildura.
Far cry from Melbourne at the moment, I would imagine.
Yeah, a bit warmer than Euroa, where I'm from. But no, mainly here ahead of Sunday, when Basin ministers are meeting for the next ministerial council meeting to talk about issues around the Murray-Darling Basin. So one of the reasons for my trip today was really to highlight how important it is for the Victorian government to make sure they get agreement with New South Wales and South Australia in terms of a moratorium on new water licences here, to make sure that we're not just driving development over the border. So we're very supportive of the Victorian government taking that action, and it's something we've been calling for a while, but I'm really urging Lisa Neville and urging the Andrews government to make sure that they secure agreement from New South Wales and South Australia to take similar action at that ministerial meeting on Sunday. So that's been the main purpose of the trip, but I popped down to Robinvale to catch up on some local issues down there, chatted to a couple of people, particularly around some of the workforce shortages they've got, which of course is not just an issue there, but across the whole region and across, I think, a lot of regional Victoria. And Orion as well, whereas I was very pleased to pop past their new lake and have a look at how that's panning out as well. So yeah, it's been a good couple of days. Just
to probably touch back on the water issue, obviously Victorian irrigators along the Murray and especially here in St Razor are sitting on 6% allocation at the moment. A little bit worse for our New South Wales brothers across and sisters across the border who are, I think they're on 0 at the moment. A lot of what you're advocating for, and I think a press release came out today, was around just ensuring some water security, probably especially around permanent plantings. How do we achieve that in such dry conditions? Are there any ideas on how we get that to happen?
Well, I think the real risk for the Sunraysia in particular at the moment is that demand will outstrip supply, and if we continue just to allow growth to go unchecked and development to go unchecked, then existing irrigators are going to find that they can't get water when they need it, and that's the real danger. So in order to secure existing entitlements, I think we do need to make sure that we've got New South Wales and South Australia on board with that moratorium. I think the worst outcome would be Victoria losing that investment and those developments going over the river, and just continuing to exacerbate those supply issues. So I think that's the first thing that really needs to be resolved to give the region security and confidence going forward.
I guess one of the other big talking points locally has probably been what many perceive to be a bit of lack of state government support for a number of big ticket infrastructure items, probably more specifically the Mildura South Regional Sporting Precinct. Lots been written by our publication and other media locally around the fact that we've got a $17.5 million commitment from the federal government, our own council's putting aid in, yet only $3 million from the state government. What are your thoughts on that, and I guess that feeling locally that perhaps the state government just continues to look past Mildura as a viable option to spend some of these infrastructure dollars?
Oh yeah, look, I think it's incredibly frustrating. It's even more frustrating when you have ministers kind of coming up and looking around and talking, but only ever talking and not actually delivering the funding that the region needs. And I have to say, it's not just here, unfortunately. I'm seeing it right across regional Victoria. I think we have a state government that is incredibly focused on Melbourne. If you look at the overall infrastructure budget in this year's state budget, about 5% of it is being spent outside of Melbourne, and they're pouring billions and billions of dollars back into the city. And at the end of the day, I think all we're ever asking for is a fair share of that. We deserve to have the infrastructure and services that we need as country Victorians, and we have to get that message through to the Labor Party that that they need to fund projects in this region, they need to fund projects in other parts of regional Victoria as well, because we deserve it.
Absolutely. Just to touch on another probably local talking point, colleague of yours, Emma Keeley, the Shadow Minister for Mental Health, has been quite vocal about trying to secure some funding or support to establish a dedicated alcohol and drug rehab facility here. Going back as even the last election, there was a coalition pledge for a $7.5 million facility to be built. What's your thoughts on that move? And I guess are you able to provide any update on how those talks may be progressing with the state government to have that have that facility looked at?
Yeah, well, not very well as far as I can see, unfortunately, but I do think it is absolutely critical to this region. And again, right across regional Victoria, we're seeing huge shortages in residential rehab. In particular, and I think there's a very good day service here, but there has to be residential rehab, and this region is absolutely a black hole in terms of having those facilities. So I think I know Emma is very committed to continuing to fight for that, and I think we just have to make sure that it stays on the radar of the current government as a pressing priority for the region.
Probably a little bit remiss of me to have a National Party member in, especially Deputy Leader, and probably not ask this question, but any idea of looking forward to the next state election in 3.5 years' time, and perhaps maybe even starting to scour for another candidate to try and reclaim a long-held National Party seat prior to our current member Ali Kappa beating Peter Crisp at the last election?
Well, obviously we will be very focused on doing what we can to demonstrate to the people of Mildura that we deserve the honour of representing them, and when we have to work hard in order to do that. But we are, I hope we'll have a very good candidate to present to the people of Mildura in 3.5 years' time. There's obviously a long way to go between now and then, but I'm also very focused on making sure that we stay very connected to the issues that are facing the Mildura community, and I think Peter Walsh and Emma Keeley as well are very focused on that. So you can certainly expect to see more of us over the next 3.5 years, but when we do come to the next state election, we'll be working very hard to win back the trust of the people of Mildura and to show them that we are very focused on the issues here and making sure that Mildura gets the investment and the services that it deserves.
Perfect. Steph, thank you so much for dropping in and having a chat.
Thanks, Vinny. Lovely to be here.
Be sure to tune back into milduraweekly.com.au for more videos.
Live the dream and contact Coolibah Cabins today on 03 50 24 2885.